Just gonna read it to you. Adrien Broner, 42 minutes ago. I just spoke with Haymon. I got a new opponent and new date at King Pete 29. That's Lamont Peterson for the IBF Junior Welterweight Championship, October 18th at the Barclays Center in New York. I'm T Street Controversy. This is T Street Controversy Live. It's August the 25th, 2014. Now, the first thing I thought to myself is, you already had the press conference already. Now, on his Instagram, or Adrien Broner, it's a picture of him and Lamont Peterson face to face. So I think, well, is he bullshitting? Because you got a picture of him with Lamont Peterson. He's got Haymon's name saying he spoke with Haymon and he's got a new fight, new date. And now you're asking yourself, well, does that make Lucas Matisse versus Roberto Ortiz in Cincinnati the main event? And what about Cincinnati? What about his home? So he would just change his date on his people? That's, you know, see, I posted on my Facebook that it was official because I wanted to do the same thing that they did. Remember when Floyd Mayweather released at one point in time that he was going to be fighting Devin Alexander, and it turned out it was bullshit? I just don't know how to look at this situation. See, there's a part of me that wants to believe, but then I think, well, this is his homecoming fight. Why would he just cancel his fight on his people? And no, he's not going to fight in September, you know, and then in October, because something can happen in that September fight, you know, and then they will put the October fight in jeopardy. So I just want to say, we're just going to have to watch, see how the situation plays out. So right now, if the fight does happen, let's talk about it. Lamont Peterson, a pressure fighter that's not, that works really hard, but he's not known to be a knockout artist. You got Adrien Broner, who stationary. Adrien Broner is still a stationary target, and then when he tries to use lateral movement or head movement, he usually gets hit to the point where his neck snaps back. You can't keep taking shots like that. Most notably, the left hook. So if you look at his fight with Marcos Maidana, if you look at his fight with Carlos Molina, he kept continuously getting hit with that punch. Now that Carlos Molina fight, that last fight of his, he was supposed to show us something we haven't seen before. You know, stop Carlos Molina. I'm not saying he hasn't stopped anybody, but he hasn't stopped anyone. Remember, he hasn't stopped or put anyone down in the 147-pound division. He had, 2 fights there, Paulie Malignaggi, after they jumped up 2 weight divisions from 135 to 147. So 2 fights at 147, Paulie Malignaggi, then, oh my God, I knew he was going to get slaughtered against Adrien Broner. So then you bring him back down to 140 pounds, and he doesn't stop or even remotely seem to hurt, even though he did reverse sidewalk slamming Carlos Molina. And no, not that Molina. I'm talking about the one that was on the undercard of Mayweather versus Maidana, the first fight. So when I'm looking at Adrien Broner, I'm thinking like, okay, well, you got the Emmanuel Taylor fight, which is a good fight for him, tailor-made fight for him, tailor-made. But why? Is because Emmanuel Taylor is more stationary and slower than Adrien Broner. Adrien Broner has the hand speed, but see, with that stationary target, that real stationary target in Emmanuel Taylor, we have to see where his knockout power is. You know, this fight is made for Adrien Broner to look good against Emmanuel Taylor. Now, with this Lamont Peterson thing, how would he look against Lamont Peterson? Truth be told, I think Lamont Peterson would win. And it's crazy, I'm an Adrien Broner fan, because why? I just see Lamont Peterson outworking Adrien Broner. I see it. I see Lamont Peterson outworking Adrien Broner. So that's why I feel that fight with Emmanuel Taylor, if this fight is official, I feel that fight with Emmanuel Taylor is a fight that he needed, because he's got to stop somebody. Now he's fighting his 4th fight in either 140 or 147 pounds, and yet to have put a person down, or yet to even, has he cut anyone? No, I don't believe he cut anyone. You know, remind me if I'm wrong in the comments. So putting him up against a guy like Lamont Peterson, I'm thinking like, damn, Haymon has had somewhat of a rough year, especially with the fans. It seems as though the doors are starting to open up about Haymon. You got fans, you know, aware of his name. Before it used to be like, well, who do they keep thinking? Who's this Haymon guy? But now fans are more aware of who he is, and fans are starting to understand that he's the one making these fights for these fighters. He's advising them to fight these fights. It's not the fighters. You know, the fighters are just doing what their manager is telling them. And I'm hearing, you know, that Al Haymon is the type of guy that you just don't say no to. You know, and he just don't hear the word no, and he tells you exactly what you want to hear. So, and he takes a lesser cut than the other managers. So, what I'm saying is, I'm having a hard time believing that this fight is for real. I'm having a hard time believing it, even though it's only, less than 50 minutes ago, about 50 minutes ago, close to 50 minutes. It just doesn't, why would Adrien Broner do that? I just don't see, you know, and you know, when it comes to these fighters are marketed by Al Haymon. Al Haymon tells them how to interact with the press. He tells them what not to say. You think Al Haymon does stuff like that? You know, and say, hey, Broner, hey, Adrien, go on your Instagram and, you know, see what the buzz is, the feel is for you and Lamont Peterson fight. You waiting right now? Yeah, take a picture. You know, post it on Instagram. You know, see what the buzz is. See how the fans are feeling. Because if you don't know, well, let's talk about the real nitty-gritty. Lamont Peterson right now is in a situation where he has no opponent. He was linked to fight Danny Garcia, but the WBC got sick of Danny Garcia and Angel Garcia with that Ring TV interview. And they said, okay, you want to talk all that shit? Fight your mandatory Viktor Postol. So now he's in a mandatory, and he either has to fight this guy or Danny Garcia has to fight Postol or vacate the belt. So his plans are all messed up. Now we know he wants to move to 147 pounds. So in the fans' eyes, fans are like, well, if he moves up, that means he's ducking Postol. That's what they're saying. You know, they want something to be mad at Danny about. You know, and they have every right for the Rod Salka. But remember, he told us he was advised, and they got to the point where he started getting a little aggravated and be like, look, it's my manager. Like, I didn't pick Rod Salka. You know, so what I'm saying is, fans were starting to call for Lamont Peterson versus Danny Garcia, and Stephen Espinoza, the executive of Showtime Sports, was saying, yes, it's the fight that could happen and most likely will happen in the winter. And then the WBC dropped down their mandatory and said, no, you got to fight Viktor Postol. So what's left? Lamont Peterson name just dangling out there. You know, so like I said, the biggest concern I have, or the biggest issue I have with this, I don't think that it doesn't make sense for you to cancel, you know, your hometown fight, and then you ask yourself, well, wait a minute, what is Matisse, you know, from Argentina doing in Cincinnati? What is what is Matisse from Argentina? What is he doing in Cincinnati? His opponent, Roberto Ortiz, is from Mexico. What is he doing in Cincinnati? You know? But T-Street Controversy, Real Combat Media, links are right below, Boxing News. I'm sure you probably heard of him before. Send me a friend request. My Facebook page is a boxing forum. You know, I built it so that all the boxing news comes there first. Long story, you know, it's an open, you know, it's an open forum basically to the point where, no, it's closed. You got to send a friend request, but it's open to the point where you can post or say whatever you want. You know, there's very little rules, and the rules that are there are simple shit. So once again, T-Street Controversy, if this fight is official, and if it's not bullshit, I will do a video immediately. But at this time, it's just, you know, I just think I don't know. T-Street Controversy, T-Street Controversy Live.